You see, in 2019, James Comey was informed he was chosen for the IRS audit that tax lawyers refer to as, quote, an autopsy without the benefit of death. 2 years later, McCabe received the same notification. The Times reports neither man knew that the other had been audited until they were told by a reporter. But now that they know, they want answers. Andrew McCabe told the Times, quote, I have significant questions about how or why I was selected for this. And Jim Comey said, quote, maybe it's coincidence or maybe somebody misused the IRS to get a political enemy. Given the role Trump wants to continue to play in our country, we should know the answer to that question. The reporter who broke this story for the New York Times, Michael Schmidt, joins me now. Michael, the big development today is a referral to the Treasury Department Inspector General to look into this. What does that mean?
So this is a difficult question to answer because not the question you asked, but getting to the bottom of what happened here. And the Inspector General will have the tools to do that. You need to be able to go in and compel the IRS to give you internal documents, to give you access to IRS employees to speak with them, and sort of the authority over the agency to investigate it. And this Inspector General will have the ability to do that, certainly in a way that in our reporting we didn't have, and perhaps in even a more invasive way than even Congress could have if they tried to do this. So the Inspector General is probably the best positioned person to investigate it. We don't have an example of criminality yet. We just have sort of an odd circumstance that looks very funny and curious. And this investigation will hopefully answer the question of why is it that this happened? Did lightning strike twice in the same general area? Or was something more nefarious afoot?
So I want to read the IRS statement. I think it was from today. It says the IRS has strong safeguards in place to protect the exam process and against politically motivated audits. It's ludicrous and untrue to suggest that senior IRS officials somehow targeted specific individuals for National Research Program audits. The IRS has referred the matter to the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration for review. And what this points to me, Michael, is this is one of those cases where it seems like in the end, we'll probably know the truth, because if there was something improper, it would have had to be done in ways that a number of people knew about it, precisely because, as the IRS says, there are safeguards in place.
I'm not sure. I mean, I guess any process can be corrupted. And who knows what this process actually looks like and how many safeguards there are over it. Time and time again, when I was reporting this out and I knew just about Comey's audit, people that had worked at the IRS or dealt with them time and time again said there were far too many safeguards there and that it could not be corrupted as an institution. And the only thing that I thought when I heard that was that there were a lot of people that made statements like that before the Trump administration came in, that a lot of different things wouldn't or couldn't happen because they simply wouldn't, because institutions and norms would hold. And we saw those norms frayed in wildly creative ways. And so because of that, and because of Donald Trump's continued harping on these two individuals, it's hard on the face of it to simply accept that this was random. If you didn't have a Trump political appointee running the IRS at the time, and you didn't have a president who accused these two men of treason and wanted to order the Justice Department to prosecute one of them. He literally wanted to order the department to do that and had to be stopped by his White House counsel from moving forward with that. So because of that, it has eroded the day-to-day work of government.
Yeah, the commissioner that you mentioned, Charles Rettig, who is a Trump appointee, what do we know about him and what his involvement has been with Donald Trump, who, again, this is one of those appointments a little like, the Federal Reserve, where there's supposed to be kind of arm's length distance, right?
Correct. So Rettig was someone who represented wealthy clients in disputes with the IRS. He advocated in 2016 that Donald Trump did not need or should not release his tax returns because he was under audit, sort of giving credibility to the argument that Trump had made on the campaign trail. He's someone who owns two properties at a Trump property in Waikiki, Hawaii. And he's someone that I think Democrats and Republicans have both been able to work with. He was a respected lawyer in the tax world. People think very highly of him there. At the same time, today, the White House press secretary, when asked whether Biden had confidence in Rettig to run the agency fairly, sidestepped the question and basically said, look, he's done in November. His term is scheduled to expire in November. So there was no, she sidestepped the question.
The other sort of circumstantial facts that we should introduce in the discussion, it seems, for context, is that this has been a temptation for presidents in the past. I mean, it's a little like it's a loaded weapon there sitting on the desk in the Oval Office. FDR, had the IRS go look into political opponents, add to JFK, and then most notoriously Richard Nixon, as part of the articles of impeachment, even said out loud he wanted a ruthless SOB to run the IRS. So there is a history here because because an audit is so awful, because that data is so private and it's such a powerful tool of the state for someone to abuse it.
Yeah, look, to the point of how invasive this is, this took the Comey audit took 15 months. They had to pay their accountant $5,000. There was the agent that worked on it did over 50 hours of work. Comey had to prove to the IRS that he actually had the children who he had claimed as dependents. And he had to do that by showing a picture, the family picture that was included in the Christmas card, the family Christmas card, to show that he actually had the children that he said he did. So they had to go to great lengths to recreate his financial year. At one point, they were looking for a receipt from a printer cartridge he had bought 2 years earlier. So that gives you a flavor of how invasive and unusual this audit is.
Yeah, in the end, right, he ended up having the IRS owe him some money, right? He had overpaid on his taxes. Was that the end result?
Yeah,
Did I remember that correctly?
I mean, for people who have watched Jim Comey, they said it was sort of the ultimate Jim Comey on-brand moment where here he is, he had to spend $5,000 to hire an accountant to be told that he had overpaid by $300 on his taxes.
All right. This is a fascinating story. Great reporting, Michael. And thanks for coming on tonight to explain it.